You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
The Oilers had a good time in Dallas, and we had maybe too good of a time out at Soho. Let's get into one of those two things with the lead. It is Oilers Nation every day. As always, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio, sportscloset.ca. Christmas is coming. Time's ticking. If you haven't got the gift for the sports fan in your life, they got you. 3 locations in the Edmonton area: Sherwood Park Mall, St. Albert Mall, and Kingsway Mall. Also, the lead brought to you by Soho Yeg, where we had a darn good Oilers Nation staff Christmas party last night, and the Oilers treated us to a victory as well. They had the game up on their 100-inch screen. I had a pizza that was about this big. It was delicious. I also had some appetizers. They were good. I had like 1 or 2 Ryan Cokes with my good friend Chris Chalmers, just a couple though. Kept it light. Liam, you were also there last night watching the Oilers beat the Dallas Stars by a score of 6-3, and you also had a Ryan Coke or 2. Or were you a beer guy last night? They have a lot of beers on tap there.
Man, I ate so much pizza, I struggled to drink anything because I was just so full from how good the pizza was.
So
it was hard to eat. That's why I left.
So that's actually why I made the switch, because I started with a couple of beers and then the food came, and I was like, there's not room for beer and pizza in my stomach. So I had to switch to something a little less filling.
But it's a great little spot. I've never been there before. And the
pizza, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's this big. Like, it's huge.
So you get the menu, and there's not really like an option for sizes.
Yeah.
They just kind of come out, and it's like, yeah, this is how big. This is your pizza's this much. I can't remember how much it was, and they just bring out this like massive like pizza stand. And next thing you know, they're like bringing out pizzas. So at my table, there was me, Bag Milk, Zach, and a few others, and they literally we had to move stuff around the table so that we could fit 3 pizzas on the table.
And it was a big table.
It was a big table.
Yeah.
It was a big table. Not big enough, almost.
The Oilers played really well last night. We'll get into all that. We are live on the Nation Network YouTube as always. Liam, what is our light goal today? And explain it.
Today's light goal, 71, for the amount of goals Mattias Janmark has scored in North America.
In North America, as in like since he came to the NHL?
Yeah, so he scored 69 in the NHL, and he scored 2 in Bakersfield. 71.
All right. Sure. And Mattias Janmark had a pair last night as well. We will get into all of that. Chris is in, says Shore didn't play, and the Oilers win. Is it a coincidence? Dr. Gonzo says, Big W, Nuge is huge. Tyler Mulick's in. Loved the lines last night. If the boys play like that and Woodcroft deploys them correctly when this team is healthy, Kane McLeod, I don't see much need for a trade up front. And my boy, Captain Felton, hello, sir, asked me if I had veggies when I got home last night. If you're a listener of Oilers Nation Radio or real life, you will know that my go-to drunk snack when I get home is just a nice frying pan full of frozen veggies, a little bit of butter in there. But I am sad to report I was way past the point of being able to operate anything. Like a frying pan, no, that was not going to happen for me last night.
It was just one of those nights.
It was just one of those nights. So no veggies for me last night, although they sound very good right now. The year of the Nuge continues, Liam. A goal for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and what a goal.
Holy
like,
smokes.
This guy is on the heater of heaters. He is now top 10 in the NHL in goals. He's 13th in the NHL in goals. He's now top 10 in the NHL in points. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is 1 point back of Sidney Crosby. That doesn't even make sense. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, what a season this guy is having. And we'll talk a little bit about whether or not it's sustainable in a bit here. And I think we can all agree, he's in all likelihood, what's he on pace for? 18 goals in 34 games. He's on pace for like 45 goals. I think we can all agree he's probably not going to score 45 this year. A slowdown will come. But regardless, let's live in the moment, Liam. It's a lot of fun watching this guy do what he's doing right. He's playing the best hockey of his career.
Out of everyone on this team, Nuge is the one you always want to see succeed. That man has been through thick and thin with this organization, and it's just awesome to see him have this success in the way he's doing it too. Like you said, like that goal yesterday, nobody in the world could have stopped that. Holy smokes! Like he
bullet
down, absolute laser past Ottinger, and then 2 assists on the night too, I believe. Right? Like that whole line was just buzzing, but Nuge was the one leading the charge for sure. And it's good now because there was always kind of the conversations, oh, can he kind of drive his own line? It's like, yeah, he can now. That debate is out of the question. Like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is this team's second line center right now, or playing like one at least.
Yep. He is tied for 13th in the NHL in goals. And I know a lot of this might be like, oh, well, he's just playing on the power play with McDavid and Draisaitl, blah, blah, blah. He is tied for 15th in the NHL in even strength goals with 12. Let's talk about the players who have the same amount of goals as Ryan Nugent-Hopkins this year. Matt Tkachuk, Rupe Hintz, Jack Eichel, Kyle Connor, Braden Point, Brock Nelson. I mean, a few of those guys are legitimate stars in the NHL. And I think we're starting to have that conversation this year of, Nuge probably going to the All-Star game with his friends Connor and Leon because he's having that type of a season. And when you look at this Oilers team, like Nuge, top 10 in scoring, he'll end up at the All-Star game if he's at that pace in February or whatever we're at. The Oilers could have Nuge, Connor, Leon, and probably Stuart Skinner in the All-Star game because 25% of your division's goalies go to the All-Star game.
I was thinking about this actually, just on the All-Star game quickly.
Yeah.
Hyman's gonna miss it, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that
just seems, that sucks.
You think he's an all-star too?
Man, he's having a career year.
He is. He's also having a good year.
He's having a great year. Like, I saw the stat yesterday. The Oilers, maybe it was the only team or one of very few teams that have 4 scorers, 15 or more goal scorers. 4 players with 15 or more goals. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And one of them is going to miss the All-Star game. And like, we don't put a lot into the All-Star game as hockey fans, but like, it's cool to see like our players there. And like, I think Hyman or Stuart Skinner is going to be like that fan vote, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, Skinner is probably going to get there on merit when you look at his numbers. And like, again, because they send 2 goalies from each division to the All-Star game, right? You look through the Oilers division, Logan Thompson's probably going. Okay, there's one. The Kings have 2 terrible goalies, 3 terrible goalies. The Kraken aren't getting good goaltending. The Flames aren't getting great goaltending, although Markstrom is starting to turn it around, to be fair. Canucks aren't getting good goaltending, and Thatcher Demko is hurt. And San Jose, Anaheim are both junk, so there's no way you're sending either one of their goalies to the All-Star game. So Skinner and Thompson are probably the guys, with Markstrom maybe being on the side on a bit of a watch list. But the vibes are good here in Edmonton. They were not good on yesterday's show, and I don't think one win should be doing all that much to turn our spirits around this holiday season, Liam, but there was a lot to like about that game. So let's get into the 3 big things presented by Cornerstone Insurance, Edmonton's premier boutique insurance brokerage. Home, auto, commercial, whatever you need. They have over 90 years of success. Find out more, cornerstoneins.ca. Liam, we have been begging for it for so long. Split up the big guns.
Oh, yeah.
Put McDavid and Draisaitl on separate lines. And yesterday in the morning, it was nope, same lines as last game. That's how the Oilers skated. And then Jay Woodcroft, he's a sneaky little devil. He pulls a fast one on us in warmups, and he ends up going with a totally different combination of lines than we were expecting. It was Connor McDavid between Zach Hyman and Jesse Puljujärvi. With that trio on the ice, the Oilers were outshot 7-5, but they did get a big goal late, and the shot attempts were 14-10 in favor of the Oilers. I like that line. I thought it was a good look. Let's go to the second line. Draisaitl in between Foegele and Yamamoto. When that trio was on the ice for 10 minutes and 18 seconds, the shots were 9-2. The shot attempts were 14-7. The score was 1-1. Nuge between Klim Kostin and Mattias Janmark. When they were on the ice, the shots were 6-3. The shot attempts were 13-10. The goals were 2-1, all in favor of the Oilers. And the fourth line, which brung up the rear, playing 6 minutes and 37 seconds as a trio, was Hamblin between Holloway and Ryan. The shot attempts, 5-2. The shots, 4-1. The score, 0-0. A dead even on the scoreboard for that fourth line. I really liked this look, Liam, and I wasn't a big fan of going the big 3 down the middle. You were, and it worked last night.
Yeah, and look, those 3 guys are basically the heartbeat of your offense right now. So, like, my belief around it before it happened was just try and spread it out a little bit and try and find some sparks. And I know even to what you've been saying, like, put these team players in duos. And like, I think we kind of saw that last night with Hyman and McDavid sticking together. Draisaitl and Yamo have had success before, and then Nugent and Janmark have been kind of buzzing too. So I liked it a lot. I liked what I saw from different guys too. Like, Puljujärvi grabbed a point last night. Foegele had a really nice goal. Klim Kostin had a great assist on Janmark's first goal. Like, there was contributions from almost everybody, and that's what the Oilers needed. And a lot of people were saying is like, this might have been their best game of the season, and it came against one of the best teams in the NHL on the road. So credit to the players last night. They showed up and put an end to that losing streak. That it's a difficult losing streak because it was mistakes that caused you to be on that losing streak.
And you lost the easy part. Like we
Yeah.
looked at in December, Liam, as a chance to just run wild and rack up a ton of points. And it was like, okay, there's some tough games in there, but a lot of spots that looked like easy, soft matchups. And the Oilers blew it in those soft, easy matchups, which almost makes it frustrating watching them last night play so good. I think one of their most complete efforts at 5-on-5 we've seen from them this entire season. And it's like, if you brought 1/5 of that against Anaheim, you blow them out if you eliminate those big mistakes, right? Like against St. Louis, you were close. You did play good in that hockey game. Against Nashville, if you brought half of what you did against Dallas, you win that hockey game easily. And that's frustrating to me because this team needs to find a way to stop playing down to their opponents. Last night, like Jay said, Oilers gonna oil, right? It's just weird that they find a way to show up against these good hockey teams, but it's also an indictment because they need to play better against the bad teams.
Yeah, and I said it before the Anaheim game. Actually, I didn't feel like this team was dropping down to levels of poor opponents. Like they had a good result against Arizona only like the week or two before, right? And yeah, they were so poor against Anaheim, but to like come out and do what they did against Dallas, it's reassuring to know that like this team kind of has it in them, I guess you could say. Like it wasn't perfect in all departments, but yeah, like I guess sometimes too, just like keeping the same lines together can be stale. Sometimes you gotta like just change things up a bit.
But that's why I like the duos, because I think you get a nice mix of that, right? You keep guys consistent with one partner, they start to develop chemistry, and maybe that third piece is what you end up rotating around.
One thing I liked too was just like like I mentioned before, the play of Kostin. I'm glad they didn't just like throw him right onto a line with McDavid and Draisaitl and put him next to Nurse to kind of ease him into a more offensive role, I guess you could say, and like gain more confidence. And I think we saw it last night. He finished with 2 assists on the game. I know I'm pretty sure one of them was the empty net, but still, like to get the point, like that matters. And the first play that he made on the Janmark, like that was great to like drag it around the net, take a couple of guys, like kind of mix things up on the Dallas defensive end, and Janmark has an easy tapping on the back door, and just need kind of levels of confidence. And it seems like the Fogo goal, like great finish. Like I said, another point for Puljujarvi. Like hopefully this team can start buzzing now that they have another winnable game on Friday against Vancouver. Like let's hope this Edmonton Oilers show up and not the ones from Anaheim.
Yeah. And my second big thing is something you guys are talking about in the chat right now. And that was just one, credit to Woodcroft for doing this, splitting up the big guns. But then I thought the way he deployed everyone worked really well in that hockey game as well. Only one Oiler forward played over 20 minutes in that game. It was Connor McDavid, who logged 20 minutes and 24 seconds. So even he was just barely over 20 minutes. And then you look at the blue line, no one played over 23 minutes in that hockey game for the Oilers. And I think that's good. You want everybody feeling like they're contributing. Like you don't think Klim Kostin is going to be skating, a little bit lighter in a bit of a better mood, a little bit more motivated next game, sitting there going, damn, I played over 11 minutes. I got on the score sheet a couple of times. I got to play with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's tied for 10th in the NHL in points. Like, damn right. Play these guys with skill. Give them meaningful minutes, and we'll see I think we'll see more results like what we saw last night. But again, this team just has to find that consistency. But I really like the way they distributed the minutes. The one spot I don't love is Dylan Holloway only playing 751, but he's on your fourth line. I think if your fourth line, like Hamblin was up at 943, and actually he killed a decent amount of penalties as well, which is something we need to talk about too. But your fourth line is going to play, 7 to 10 minutes. And it sucks Holloway's there. They should probably be putting him in Bakersfield. My sense is they probably would if they were 100% healthy right now. But I liked, all that aside, I liked the way Woodcroft distributed the minutes.
Yeah, it felt like a Woodcroft game, I guess you could call it, right?
You're right.
The Woodcroft we knew back last season, and I don't think we've seen that a lot this year, but that's what they needed. Like this, I think this team buzzes more, and it's going to be a very obvious point when everybody feels like they're contributing and doing something positive to this team. And yeah, like the Holloway thing, I think one thing for Holloway that maybe keeps him around, like obviously the injuries, but also the fact of like something's not going right. Say Fogo gets hurt in the game, Holloway can be elevated. I don't know if you can do the same with Tyler Benson or someone like that. I think he adds a different layer of flexibility to your lineup, and I'd like to see him play more. I think he deserves to play a little bit more, but also, like you said, played in the fourth line. The whole team played well. It's not like he was bad. And it's sometimes difficult to give him an extra couple of shifts when you look at that line ahead of them was the highest scoring line. The one above that is Draisaitl, and the one above that is McDavid. Like, where are you kind of filtering him in?
Are the guys on Barn Burner still going, you think?
I would have, yeah.
They are, okay. I keep seeing, so the guys at Barn Burner, usually our technical producer, Alex Allard, he does Barn Burner from 10:30 until noon Mountain Time, and he quickly transitions and does our show. The geniuses down at Flames Nation thought, what if we'd had 10 different cocktails throughout the course of their show today? And they've basically just been getting blitzed on the air. It's hilarious. I was watching some of it. Very funny. They're not even like really talking Flames. They're just four dudes drinking. But I keep seeing Alex in the bottom of our corner laughing. And I think it's so funny. And the first time I saw him laughing is after I said Nugent-Hopkins could go to the All-Star game. And then I look and I saw Alex laughing. I'm like, I don't think it's that ridiculous of a take to say that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to be an all-star this year. I don't like your attitude, Alex. Then I remembered he's watching Rhett Warner drink Ryan Ginger live on video. And I'm like, yeah, no, that makes a little bit of sense. Anyways, that's just some behind the curtain stuff. Our second big thing was the way Woodcroft handled the minutes. The third big thing, you guys are on top of it in the chat. I see a bunch of you guys, Tyson, McKay, everyone chiming in a little bit. Quaddy's talking about it too. Darnell Nurse, the blue line, is still a big topic of conversation. There were some rough moments in that game. And someone said, Darnell Nurse just didn't get burned last night. But Mark is in. Second star's goal was on Nurse, not in position again, 100%. And I think he's in a tough spot where he's probably trying to do too much right now. He's trying to really force his way out of this slump. But my third big thing is that the blue line was still not good. And on that second goal, Darnell Nurse goes up the ice to forecheck. Okay, so you're making a pinch, you're taking a risk. I don't mind my defenseman, especially Darnell Nurse. He's talented. Take a risk every once in a while. But it needs to be effective, and it wasn't. He went and waved his stick a couple of times, missed 2 checks, could have disrupted the play once at the other team's blue line, once at the red line, I think, if I'm remembering that goal correctly, and then came back. And where did Wyatt Johnson come down the wing and score from? Nurse's side of the ice, because Darnell Nurse is on the wrong side. Cody Ceci doesn't really read it well because Nurse is just doing a full big loop around the ice. And it ends up in the back of their net. And I get it if you're Darnell Nurse. You want to try be impactful and do good things and get out of this slump, all of that stuff. But I think you need to be smart, and I think you need to keep it simple.
I think another thing on top of that too, especially on that goal, it was Klim Kostin was the forward that kind of had to come back and was caught flat-footed. You're asking a rookie forward, essentially, why does he play like 50, 60 games in the NHL to like play like reliable defensively? Like, it's kind of a tough ask too. Like, Nurse should recognize who's on the ice with him and kind of understand that too. And I agree, like, Nurse is good enough to go up there and kind of cause an impact, but he didn't on that play. And it's something I've noticed too. Like, Niemelainen does it a lot. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's something Dave Manson wants to see his defensemen do, is get up in a rush and like kind of get deeper.
They were aggressive last year, and that was something Bakersfield always did.
Yeah, continue. So I don't know if it's working right now because this whole team isn't working well as a defensive unit. So it's probably not a good idea to allow your defense to kind of attack that heavily, especially when they don't need to, when you have such good forwards. Like, it's not like the others need extra goals from defensemen, Like, they're kind of getting it from everyone offensively up front right now too. Like, so I don't like it that much. I think Nurse needs to, I think he's like you said, like, he's trying to do too much to get himself out of this stuff. I think if he simplified his game a little bit more and just played like the Darnell Nurse we saw last season, or the Darnell Nurse had 16 goals the year before that, or whatever it was, like, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, just maybe chillax a little bit. What do they call him? Dr. 25?
Yes, Dr. 25.
Yeah, don't like that one. His name's Nurse, not Doctor.
McKay's in and says, I really liked how Kulak and Barry played last night. I was actually really surprised when I pulled up the numbers on those two last night, because their numbers were putrid, like brutal. Really? They both got outscored, and I thought they played fine too. So maybe I just shouldn't read all that much into the numbers. And there were a lot of shots from distance that were getting through, which is a compliment to them as well. But with Kulak on the ice at 5-on, or in all situations, the shots were 8-1 for Dallas. And with Barry on the ice at 5-on-5, I should add, because I want to take power play out of that for Barry, they were 9-1 for Dallas. It's like, that's not. But again, credit to him because I think they kept a lot to the outside.
Because the one goal that Barry was on the ice for, him and Cece got caught out there together.
Yeah.
I think that was just kind of a bit of an awkward change, an odd man rush. So you can kind of forgive that. And it was a sick shot from Rupe Hintz, I think, was the one who got it.
I didn't think Skinner got across the crease that well on that one, but it was still, it was like a one-timer from Rupe Hintz.
But Tyler just said in the chat, Barry's been our best defenseman, which is wild to say. And I kind of agree to an extent. Like defensively, I don't think he's our best defenseman, but I do think he does a lot positive in the game. Like he's very good with the puck. Obviously, the power play, he's the king of being the power play QB. Like I've liked him a lot because you don't hear about him a lot. And like we talked about it, I can't remember if it was this show or O&R. Isn't he like top 10 in defensive scoring or something like that this season? Wasn't he like 8 for something?
Yeah, Tyson Barrie tied a franchise record with an 8-game assist streak yesterday.
Like he quietly just goes about his business. Like defensively, yes, you would like to see more from him. Like you said, they were outshot 9-1, but like I feel like we've seen a lot of improvements in him in the last 3 years.
I think Kulak and Barry is a solid pairing. We saw it in the playoffs last year as well. So we have like a solid sample size here. Like Kulak is the Barry whisperer.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he seems to get the most out of him. And again, the stat sheet wasn't pretty for those two last night, but I think their game was largely okay. Jacob says Nurse was our worst defenseman last night, and he wasn't even overplayed. Yeah, it's concerning. A bunch of you guys were talking about, Ty Corp is in, says they should shelter him. He freezes a lot with the puck. I just, again, think he's overthinking everything. I think his game's just in a really bad spot right now, and I don't know how you get out of it. I think you need to keep it simple, but he's trying to force it right now, and I think that's the reason why maybe his play is hurting a little bit. There was another comment in here, and I forget who sent it, because there are a lot of you commenting right now, asking about why he's always going down in the crease. And that's something that's got to be coached. Like
100%.
They all do it.
Yeah.
And I think as an observer, it drives you nuts. But what they're trying to do is take away the passing lane in front. But I also just think that nowadays players are just so skilled that they're going to step around you and fire it out. You need to play it a little bit differently than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think just for stuff like Nurse laying flat on the ice, if you see other players doing it, not just that, but like other things, like I said, like jumping up in the rush too, like that's coaching. The players aren't just doing that on their own. Like sometimes, sure, they're instinctively, but like you even look at the one Bouchard when he got benched against Washington.
Yeah.
He went down on the floor to try and block him coming across, right? Like that's something they obviously practice on the daily. 41 likes, by the way, right now. Let's get those flowing in.
Just hit 42.
Oh, 42.
We're cruising. If you're watching on the Nation Network YouTube, hammer that like button as well. Captain Felton is in, says bring back Keith. Let him pull a Gronk. I'm sure the NHL would be largely pretty pissed off if the Oilers went and did that. Just because he retired, the Oilers got $5 million in cap space, and instead of having him at a $5 million cap it, he'd come back for like league minimum on a prorated deal, and it's like, ooh. I wouldn't hold your breath though. I don't think that's.
I'd rather have Kulak, but also Chris Russell just returned.
I think you need someone who's been playing games.
I agree. But if I was going to pick one, I'd probably want Chris Russell's 35 compared to the 41-year-old Keith.
Yeah. So our 3 big things from last night brought to you by Cornerstone Insurance, splitting up the big guns. It works. The Oilers get goals from depth pieces because of it. Janmark pops home 2. Warren Fogle scores 1 as well. And then it was McDavid, Hyman, big guns doing some work. That McDavid goal. I mean, his release, he's leading the NHL by 3 goals. Yeah, he is 29. I think Thompson is 26. It's unbelievable. And that release, if you watch it, the TNT broadcast showed a close-up angle of it. He goes and he's shooting, and his blade opens up, which to me is like, okay, you're opening up your blade a little bit. You're going to toss it upstairs. And I think that's what Ottinger was thinking too. And then somehow he still just rips it on the ice 5-hole. Like he opened up Ottinger, I think, perfectly with the way he opened up his blade a little, and then boom, 5-hole before you could blink. Goal scorer's goal from 97. We're getting used to saying that.
The most dangerous player in the NHL, and he shows us every single night. That was literally his first shot on goal.
Yeah, you're right. He was held off the shot clock.
Yeah, and he just slid it right through him, and it's just like, man, like you come down the ice, and I think he was going down with Hyman too, wasn't he? And it's just like
it was a 4-on-1.
Was it a 4-on-1? And it's like, there is only one man I want to shoot this puck, and it was him. And he just absolutely buried it. And you could kind of see the emotion. Like, you don't see that. Like, I've seen McDavid score 20 better goals than that, probably 50. And
we don't usually get the F after.
Yeah, but he was like jacked up to score that one. And that was probably such a relief for the entire team to like get that insurance goal. And I'll be like, okay, we're coming down to the last couple of minutes here. Like, no mistakes, none of this stuff. We don't want to go to overtime again. Like, then Captain McDavid shows up and seals a victory.
Curtum is in. If you can outscore one of the best defensive and goaltending teams, you should be able to beat the majority of the other top 16 teams. And yeah, like that's what's frustrating here is that there is no reason why the Oilers should not be riding an insane heater right now. If you go back to the last couple of games, like again, show up, arguably one of your best performances of the year last night against Dallas. You had beaten Nashville last Tuesday. You should have beaten St. Louis. That's inexcusable. You should have beaten Dallas. That's inexcusable. You should have beaten Nashville again. That is inexcusable. This team should be riding a 5-game winning streak right now. We should be talking about a month of December in which they would have only lost 1 game, but you blew it. And it's inexcusable that their record's not better right now. And yeah, I mean, it's as simple as that. But they are now just 1 point back of the Kraken. Kraken have played 3 less games, so that's a little bit not great. But they're now 3 points back of LA, who's won 3 in a row. So you're keeping pace with the Kings to an extent because you got a game in hand on them. Vegas is, not playing at their same pace as before. They're 6-4 in their last 10. But you got to match up with them in January. Maybe there's a door starting to open here for the Oilers. 9 points back of the Vegas Golden Knights with a game in hand. So
when's our first game against Seattle?
It's coming up.
Yeah.
They play Seattle next Friday.
Okay. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're 3 points back, they're 3 games back of us, but like haven't played us once yet. So that's going to be big. And that's the thing. We've said it before and they blew it against Anaheim, but they haven't played the division a lot. It's going to help them a ton down the stretch here where they're the ones going against the division. I feel like the other teams in the division have played each other tons. So it's going to benefit the Oilers. Just got to find a way to get 2 points.
Steven says, I'll just say it. I'm getting sick of watching the Oilers play lights out on the road and phone it in at home. It's flat out disrespectful to the fans paying the crazy Rogers fees. Yeah, I mean, that's a take. They've not been good at home. They're 9-8-1. And that's average at home. They are traditionally a good team at Rogers Place. That's something this Oilers team actually usually does well, is defend home ice. For whatever reason, I don't understand it this year. They've laid a couple of stinkers on home ice, and they got to turn that around.
What was the last big win they had on home ice? Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota Vegas? Friday night beat them 5-2. They beat Arizona 8-2. That was like a big win, but I don't know about a statement win. Yeah,
that's kind of what I was thinking. It's like last year we had the Rangers game. We had the Winnipeg game. I think those were both before the new year. Like, yeah, I kind of agree with what Steven said there, where it's like these guys aren't showing up and they've lost to Buffalo, Anaheim at home. Like, they've lost to bad teams at home this year. They're Calgary, they lost to Battle of Alberta. Like, I agree. Like, as fans, we're paying a lot of money to go. You would like to see them have some consistency at home, at least.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins off the jump, and I wanted to talk about the numbers behind his heater a little bit and how good it's been. His individual shooting percentage, like we mentioned, he's 10th in the NHL in scoring. He's in the top 20 in goals. Only one player in the top 20 has a higher individual shooting percentage than Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It's Connor McDavid. But that's usually a sign that things are going to fall back. And we talked about Nuge a lot early in the year, and this was something where last season he scored 11 goals in 63 games. He shot 7.1%. We said he was going to turn it around. We should have expected a bump up from Nuge. We didn't see this coming. 18 goals in 34 games. I think we both agree. He's shooting over 21%. That's going to come down a bit. Even if this is a career year, he'll probably end somewhere around like 16 or 17, which means he's due for 34 games where he shoots at a 10% clip, which is still better than he did last year. Yeah. I think he's going to keep scoring. I think if I had to peg the number, and I'll ask for your take on this too, I'll say he ends the year with 32 goals. What say you?
I'll go with 35. I think the thing that I'm trying to run in my head right now is the goals that he's scoring. Like he's scoring legit goals.
That shot last night, I just can't get over that. I could watch that all day. Put it on a loop.
Wasn't it the Nashville one? He went posted in, didn't he, or something like that? Mm-hmm. Like he's scoring. He's not just getting like tap-ins. Like he is scoring goals and he's creating them himself. And I think that's like I don't think that rate is sustainable. Like what did you say? 21%.
It'll come down.
But I just got a feeling like he's feeling it right now, and that's what. Like, we kind of saw him go cold a little bit because like, kind of right before the Oilers start getting better again, he was, like, kind of off. He wasn't really getting shots and all that kind of stuff. So, like, we've already seen it slightly. So, if that's kind of the run again he goes, and I could still see him getting close to the 40-goal mark. But That'd be unreal to have Nugent-Hopkins 40 goals in a season. Like,
I'm not holding my breath on that, but you're right. It would be
yeah,
unreal.
It'd be awesome. So I believe in the Nuge.
Mhm.
And yeah, he's scoring great goals, and that's what gives me some extra confidence in him.
Jacob says it's a different Nuge, man. I'm not putting it past him. And the other thing I looked at, just in terms of his production as well, the Oilers shooting percentage when he's on the ice, which again, that's when he's on the ice, what percentage of the Oilers shots go in? It's at 9.24% this year. That's actually lower than it was at 5-on-5 for him last year. And he's basically around that mark a lot of seasons throughout his career. So I actually think the on-ice production could stay the same. I think we might get a run where maybe he isn't scoring as many goals, but he's scooping up a bunch of assists as well. I would peg him to finish the year. I said 32 goals. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll say he finishes with like 34, and then he adds on like 56 assists. I think he could legitimately be a 90-point guy this year.
I think he'll be a 90-point guy. That's kind of what I was also thinking, is like, maybe if he's not scoring, he's still feeling the buzz passing the puck and finding guys. And yeah, he is making plays around him better. Like, last night he played with Klim Kostin and Mattias Janmark, who both started the season in the AHL. And they were the highest scoring line on the ice with a team when McDavid and Draisaitl both played. And Jason Robertson, who's another great scorer in the league. So he's just doing a lot of good things, and I love him. I love you, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
An interesting question here from JHB, and I want your listener questions on the Nation Network YouTube stream as well. Hammer that like button. We are 16 away from our like goal today, so if you're just tuning in, tap that little thumb up. Do us a solid. JHB says, when Kane comes back, does Ryan get waived instead of Janmark? Ooh, boy. That is a really interesting question, because you don't want to take, in my opinion, either of them out of this lineup, but Ryan is the odd man out in that situation. If you gave me the choice, you're trusting Janmark with top 6 minutes, or you did for like 2 weeks. And Jacob says probably Hamblin, but it's a cap thing, right? Like, the reason Janmark wasn't on this team at the start of the season wasn't because he didn't play his way onto the team, Liam. It was because they couldn't afford to keep him. They were like $100 under the cap with their LTIR pool. They need to move out one of the guys if everyone's healthy. And that's a big if. I get that. But they need to move out one of the $1 million plus guys on their roster.
Yeah. So assuming there's no trade by then, let's just assume that. Devin Shaw won't go down because he makes such little money that they probably need to keep him up.
Yeah.
Everything, right? So he'll stay. Hamlin will be gone. Ryan's probably the guy. I would assume, like,
does he clear waivers? Probably.
There's too many teams that are in such tight spaces.
Yeah, that not a lot of teams can afford him. And there's no way like a rebuilding team's going to take a stab at that guy.
They wouldn't want to. And then, you can maybe call him back up for the playoffs. Like, I like Derek Ryan. I think he's a reliable player for this team. I think he's a really good bottom 6 forward. But yeah, like, I guess I haven't really thought about it a lot.
Because I don't know what else you do. Like, people are saying, oh, you just send down like a combination of 2 guys. But again, go back to the beginning of the year. They were running more or less a bare bones roster.
Yeah.
Right? I think they maybe had an extra D-man kicking around.
Then they were playing 12 and 7.
Yeah.
Literally everyone they had available was playing something.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
They had one D-man healthy scratched every game. Like, unless you're going to run a 12 and 6 roster, I think maybe you could do it. But that's tough, because there are going to be nights where you're playing with 17 skaters instead of 18, and that puts you at a disadvantage.
Now, this might be a silly question, but I wonder if other people are thinking this too. If you send someone to Bakersfield, they don't have to go, right?
No, you could just paper transaction it.
Can they still practice with the team and everything? Because I think this happened with Devin
Yeah.
Shaw. Or do they have to practice like after practice? Are they kind of like a black ace somewhat?
I think you can. I think you can do it. I think you can like keep them around and not, because I don't think there's any rules saying that. Like, when guys are on the IR, they practice with the team, right?
That's
so I think
true.
it's a similar thing.
Because like they're not. I don't think the Oilers would send him to Bakersfield. That him being Derek Ryan. You're asking, what is he? 36 years old? I just don't. He's from Edmonton, isn't he? Like, he's not going to go.
He's from Spokane.
But he went
played his U of A hockey year. Yeah,
grew up in Edmonton at least, or whatever. So I'm sure his family's here and everything. Is like, they're not going to send him to Bakersfield. He's probably going to sit at the top of Rogers Place and be a cap thing where he skates with the team and everything. Unless he is going to be gone for a long time. But yeah, I guess maybe Ryan is the guy. But I wouldn't like him to be the guy. But he probably will be the guy, unless Janmark falls off.
Dream homes with Alex. Apparently, the Oilers are out on Chickering. We talked about the yesterday with Frank a little bit, and he doesn't see Chickering as a great target for the Oilers. Does that mean we be patient and see what teams are selling come deadline, or risk overpaying for an Edmondson or Gavrikov? Yeah, if you're going to jump and try to get someone now, you're overpaying. You're giving up a first no matter what for either one of those guys. And you're waiting. Like, you need to wait for the market to kind of take shape. Because if you look at the standings right now, who's selling in the NHL? Well, in the West or in the Pacific, okay, Anaheim and San Jose, they'll be sellers. Arizona and Chicago, they'll be sellers. No one in the Atlantic is selling. In the Metro, it's Columbus and potentially Philly, I guess. So you're looking at 6 teams right now. All the other teams are probably looking to buy to some degree. There's a couple teams in a weird, mushy middle spot. I don't think Ottawa's really going to sell off or do anything crazy like that. Vancouver's probably that team in the mushy middle. But the point I'm getting at is, if you let the market breathe a little bit, Vancouver falls out. There's one team. Nashville or St. Louis, one of them's going to fall out and be a seller. So you're going to add another team there. In the Atlantic, eventually someone there will be forced to sell. Again, I don't see a ton of fits between the Oilers and Ottawa. Montreal is still kind of in the race. There is a chance Florida's out of the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
They have 34 points in 34 games. They are tied with Buffalo, even though they played 2 more games. They are a point back of Detroit, even though they've played 2 more games. They are 7 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning, even though they've played 2 more games. The Florida Panthers are in a world of trouble, and the Oilers should be licking their chops. Because if you look at that Panthers lineup, and if Bill Zito goes, I got to sell off and try to get some stuff back, you're tempted at the idea of Radko Gudas, aren't you, Liam? $2.5 million. He's a right D. Not great. You'd have to flip him to his offside. He's hurt right now. I also understand that. But if Florida was willing to keep half of that, man, Radko Gudas on this Oilers blue line, you talk about getting harder to play against. You talk about getting mean. Radko Gudas probably checks some serious boxes for you.
Oh, yeah. That was the name I was going to bring up. He's a cheaper option, 100%. So, been around for a long time. What's he at? Is it over 700 games, I think, right? Is that too high? I can't even think.
I don't know.
But
we're both hungover, so people shouldn't have been expecting quality from this.
He's a good player. And, yeah, I guess to answer the original question with, Edmondson, I don't think the Oilers should go after Edmondson because he has an extra year on his deal.
We're agreeing on that. Yeah,
you need the flexibility every single year, and you can't be putting $3 million into Joel Edmondson. Gavrikov, I agree. I think he would be a good fit for this team. However, like you said, do you really want to give up a first-round pick for a guy who probably the same as Kulak, and like we spoke about many times, you only have to give up a second-round pick in Lagesson? I'm probably looking around to make a similar deal where I give up my second or third and a Niemelainen.
Second and Niemelainen for Gudas. I think that sounds decent to me.
That's probably where I'm looking. Someone who can kind of fit that price tag, and you can find yourself another Kulak. And what did they give up for Kulikov a couple of years before? Was it a fourth
or a fifth? Yeah,
fourth. Yeah, those are the deals I think Ken Holland is looking for. I don't think he's going to try and move a first-round pick for a defenseman like that, especially after yesterday when we spoke to Frank and they said the number one priority is add another forward. To me, that says where they want to put the first-round pick.
Yeah.
It's probably a two-way sentiment.
And TC chimed in with a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how certain is it that Holland moves the first rounder this year? And I'll go ahead. I see Quaddy said 7. Rusty, the reckless optimist, is in and says 6. I'm going to go a little bit higher than both you guys. I'm going to say it's an 8. I say there's an 80 to 85% chance Ken Holland is moving that first-round pick this year. I think he's going to get a bit of an itchy trigger finger, especially if this team starts winning a little bit and we're at the deadline. Maybe they're at that point 5 points back of Vegas, and you sit there, you go, phew, we got a couple of head-to-heads against them. Maybe we can still catch them. They got to play better hockey. They got to put themselves in a good spot, but I really do think there's an 80 to 85% chance that they move the first-round pick. We were talking about Florida. That's maybe a team that could be looking to restock. Someone said, give me Forsling. I saw Tyler said that. A couple other people. Yeah. He's got an extra year at 2-point-some million. I don't think Florida's going to move him because they're not trying to rebuild. They're just going to replenish this offseason. They got a ton of money coming off the books. I don't think they'd move a guy like Forsling in such a value deal.
And they've also just spent so much the last couple of years, which is kind of why they made that Max Domi deal too last year, right? To help out Carolina is okay, we'll get an extra pick at least. On a scale of 1 to 10, how the Holland thing, I said this on ONR the other day for Assy Ideas. I think it's a 10. I think it's gone. To be honest. It's the only.
He's called the scouting department and been like, guys, don't even look.
Yep, I think so. I think that's his plan. And there's too many players out there that warrant a first round pick. I feel like it's also not 100% been there the last couple of years for the Oilers, where like they got Kane last year. They didn't need to go out and get a new forward.
This is a really good draft class, though, eh?
It is. It is very good. I will not deny that. There is lots of good players, especially out of Western Canada. Like there is tons. But eventually, the Oilers are got to look past the draft.
They do.
They've got to think, when are we going to put our hands on Lord Stanley? And
this
is the only year where Holland's been around where he's kind of made a point of like, yes, the first round pick is available. The other years he's been a little bit offish and what he wants to say around. I feel like this is the year that it's gonzo, and I'm more than happy to say goodbye to it. The last few years I was a little honestly unsure if they should have, but this year I think this is the year.
TC says the scout has spoken. To get you that, we have a little wooden gavel somewhere. Bang. When you talk about prospects, the scout has spoken. You hit your little gavel. Yeah, there's a lot of good players in this draft. That makes me nervous about trading both the first and the second. But if you move JP, maybe you can get an extra second back from someone. Maybe you get a third back from someone if he starts playing better. And it's like, okay, you replenish a pick there, then you go add. I don't know. Reaper threw in a trade suggestion. I always love these. He said Gavrikov and Gustav Nyquist at 50% retained for a first, a third, Puljujarvi and Rodrigue. Third becomes a first if they make the finals. So basically, potentially giving up 2 firsts, Puljujarvi and Rodrigue, for 2 rentals. Don't love that right off the jump. And also, Columbus says no. I know the Puljujarvi thing, everyone likes to bring up the Finnish connection with Kekalainen and Laine, but I mean, the reason, like, Kekalainen could have picked him. He picked Dubois.
Yeah.
I think maybe Kekalainen knew something.
Yeah. If anybody has some good Finnish connections, it's probably him.
Yeah.
That's sorry, just quickly. I think the realization the Oilers fans need to come to with Puljujarvi is, yes, we all love him. I don't think the 31 other teams in the league love him as much as we do.
No.
We were all pumped to see him finally get a goal the other night. And I think that's the only way the Oilers trade Puljujarvi is if he starts contributing and scoring points. And now he's been back-to-back games where he's got a point. He needs to be a more impactful player if other teams want to start being interested in him.
And Olivier Rodrigue, fine prospect. Columbus has Daniil Tarasov and Elvis Merzlikins. They're set in the crease for the next decade. They don't need a goalie prospect right now. So that package doesn't make sense. I don't love Gustav Nyquist either. I think you can get someone who's much less expensive than that to play a similar role for you, because, again, you're not going to need him up in the top 6. Keaton says, would you rather move this year's first or Reed Schaefer? Reed Schaefer, friend of the show, also this year's first. Reed Schaefer's closer to contributing. You don't lose that. You need value deals coming into the NHL. Holloway, Bourgault, Schaefer, that's your next 3.
And you know what you have in Schaefer to an extent. Like, we obviously haven't seen him in the NHL. We know what he is. You don't know who you're getting with that first round pick. What if you get Alex Plant again? Sorry, Alex Plant.
We know you're watching from, I think
always in the comment section
Asia somewhere. And Alex Plant, always kicking around. We're 6 likes away from our like goal. So if you're watching on the Nation Network YouTube, hammer that like button today so we can get to 71. And then we'll get towards the wrap of today's show. Steven says, I'd trade Carter Savoy before I trade a goalie prospect. JP, Savoy, Broberg are my big 3 baits. I don't think Savoy has a ton of value outside of Edmonton. That's a guy where you're not getting a lot for him unless some other team happens to just love him. But you keep that guy, you develop that guy. If he hits and he turns into, like, I always like comparing him kind of to Phil Kessel because I know they're similar builds, right? They're small and they have good shots. I want that guy. So and me and you are maybe a little biased here, but we like him.
I like Savoy. And I think when the Oilers look at prospects, they've got to look at guys who have a bit more upside, I guess you could say, to like trade. Like Savoy, I think, can score a lot of goals in the NHL, but you look at a guy like Tyler Tullio who can kind of score goals and also be a bit like gritty. I think teams would value him more than Savoy.
Quaddy said Broberg seems injury prone, and what you have to remember when you're doing this stuff is if we Oilers fans are looking at Broberg going, ooh, he might be a little injury prone, I don't know if he's ever going to make it. Other teams are looking at him and going, ooh, a little injury prone.
Yeah,
that hurts his value. So, and I saw someone making this point on Twitter. They were like, oh, you just trade 2 firsts and Broberg for Chickering because the Coyotes want 2 firsts and a high-end prospect for Chickering. The Coyotes might look at Jacob Chickering and be like, we don't think he's good. Or they might look at Philip Broberg, and be like, we don't think he's good. And then what do you do? Right? Like, you can.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, maybe the Coyote, like, what if they don't
What if the
want
Coyotes are sitting there saying, no, the prospect's Dylan Holloway? And Ken Holland says, no, the prospect's Philip Broberg.
Yeah.
you're not moving Dylan Holloway in that deal with 2 other first-round pick. You can improve your team a better way than that. You don't have to do that, is my point.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, 67 likes already. Let's get to our Betway bets of the day, Mr. Liam. I got 2. Also, the Leafs are in action right now. I don't know if you saw that.
Why?
It's their next gen game. They do this once a year where they play at noon and the crowd's full of kids and all of that. I was riding the Austin Matthews shot prop in this hockey game, and I'm just checking what he's at right now. He's at 1 in the first. He needs 5. So giddy up, Mr. Matthews. What do you got tonight in the NHL, courtesy of our friends at Betway?
Well, I'm going with another gentleman who needs a few shots tonight, David Pastrnak. Does anybody shoot the puck more than him in the NHL? The answer is no, I think.
You are correct.
Yeah, okay. So 4.5 shots for Mr. Pastrnak, minus 118. You would think, how often does he hit this? He's hit it 4 of his last 5.
It's a high total, but he crushes it. He loves ripping the pill.
He loves to score goals. He's going to get paid, actually, this summer. He's going to get a lot of money in his bank account.
Dude, if the cap goes up the full $4.5 million, which, again, we think it probably will, he's going to get 12, 13 million. And you know who I like to pay him that much? Potentially Boston, obviously.
Yeah.
Seattle. Yeah. That's man, you want a marketable superstar who can just be electric? Pasternak's your guy for Seattle.
A lot of personality.
Ton of personality.
Yeah, that'd be
so
good.
Seattle, if you're watching this, GM Ron Francis, it's time, man. I know you're in a playoff spot. Tank, sell Carson Soucy, sell some other assets, bring Soucy home, get Bedard, sign Pastrnak. You'll win a Stanley Cup quicker. Just get out of here. Get out of the playoff race.
2 away from our like goal, and our
Nice.
second pick, Zuccarello. You like hitting this one, or is it?
Dude, he's hit this in like 11 of 12 games,
Yeah.
and they don't move the line. At this point, it's free money.
Yeah, minus 134. It's not incredibly juicy, but like Tyler said, what was it, 11 of last 12?
11 of 12, 12 of 13. Like, he's on a
Yeah.
stupid run. And usually when guys go on a run like this, like earlier in the year, Darlene was hitting it, and like
every night.
he hit it in like 11 to 12. It was crazy. And they boosted him. He was all the way at like minus 210. They're just not moving the Zuccarello line. I don't get it.
Because nobody watches the Minnesota Wild.
They're boring, yes.
So there you go.
Mhm.
2 free picks for tonight. 2 locks. Knock on wood.
2 locks. Who did I pick tonight on Daily Faceoff Live? I like the Rangers against the Islanders. That's a good spot. The over in Seattle, Vancouver is a good spot. And Artemi Panarin's crushed his shot prop in 4 of 5. So we like that as well. Shout out to our friends at Betway 19+. Please play responsibly. The Oilers won as road dogs yesterday. So if you're one of those people that bets on the Oilers every game,
Like we do.
yeah, you got a little bit of extra money in your account. So see if you can keep it rolling into the holiday season. Tyler Mulick says, right now, Seattle has 20 mil going into next offseason. Yeah, like that is right now. And I think the cap sites are already factoring in the 1 million increase. But if it goes up another 3 on top of that, Seattle's going to have 23 million bucks. They have to sign. They don't need a backup because Chris Driedger will be back. Carson Soucy, they may look to re-up. That's it. Pretty much everyone else is under contract. Seattle has $23 million. Once Driedger's back, I guess it'll be 20 even, to basically go and improve their team as best as they can. You don't want to blow it all because you're going to need big deals eventually because you want to lock up Beniers and your other young pieces at some point, but they will be major players in the free agent pool. I wonder about them maybe wanting a guy like Bo Horvat. Keep him close to Vancouver. He goes to an American market. I think there's a lot of players on the market coming up next year that Seattle will be itching to get their hands on, and that's a desirable place to play.
Yeah, Seattle's a good little city.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there once. Went to a Mariners game.
I have been there once and been to a Mariners game as well. We hit our like goal.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. I'm feeling kind of inspired by what the Barn Burner guys did, and I want to do a fun Christmas show tomorrow too.
Are we having 20 drinks on the show tomorrow?
No.
Oh.
Good Lord, no. I don't even want to think about putting alcohol into my body right now. But maybe we'll make the set a little bit festive tomorrow. Bagged milk will be by.
Yeah.
If you got some ideas in the chat, let's make this a fun community thing. What can we do tomorrow? Give us some fun Christmas games, maybe? I don't know. We'll have some Christmas-themed segments. Yeah. Tomorrow's a game day, too, actually, so Jay will be swinging by.
We'll have a fun...
We'll have a full show.
Fulfilled show.
20, Rusty, 20 drinks in 45 minutes? I mean, the stream doesn't even end. It's just me and you, like, black out.
Oh boy.
Maybe we'll have one or two, actually. I don't know. Maybe I'm warming up to that idea. Not doing what the barn. They're seasoned pros down there in Calgary.
Yeah,
They've been doing that for a long time.
We're just a couple of rooks up here doing our first live show. They've been doing it for years now.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
So Tyler says power hour, 1 ounce of beer every minute for an hour. So you basically take a sip every minute, or a little bit more than that, depending on how big your gulps are. So every 12 minutes, you got to crush a can of beer. So that means we'd have 3 during the. You know what? I think we're getting into a dangerous area with this. Maybe not. Maybe not. Chris Walking says eggnog. Are you an eggnog guy?
No.
Yeah, I'm not either. It's like, it's fine, but I don't like sit there like, oh man, Christmas, finally I can buy eggnog.
Yes. No, I don't think about that at all.
Weird.
Eggnog is not a thing in England. Not a thing.
Really?
Oh yeah, never heard of it until I moved here. It's not bad. I'm not
shitting on it. It's just not my favorite thing in the world.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah. We crushed our like goal today. Shout out to everyone watching on the Nation Network YouTube. Flynn says, I've heard power hour is like 7 cans of beer. We're not doing it is the point. We do like to function while we do this show. And again, I don't really trust myself. Dr. Gonzo, Christmas pudding. Eggnog and coffee, says Katie. She says that's the best. Yeah. I could see that as like a sweetener. That makes sense. More of a Bailey's in my
I had one last week.
An eggnog or a coffee?
Like combined.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it good?
No. Sorry. I missed who said that.
Maybe there you go. If people want to like slide into the DMs, maybe, and we can try a few things tomorrow.
How about this? So
we really did just wait to the last minute to plan this, eh? So
we aren't going to be able to do our food bank donations because the Oilers aren't going 6-2.
Yeah, you're right.
So we'll do a thing. We'll add that to it where so we'll donate something to the food bank.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And then we'll also do the one where people suggest stuff. Was that something?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's do that. And we'll do some decorating. As you can see, Tyler mostly built a studio, so he can clearly decorate.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be really lovely.
Me and you did this with our own bare hands.
We'll put Santa on the screen.
Yeah. We'll come up with some good ideas. Maybe we'll finally let Alex show his Grinch Photoshop that he keeps putting up in the preview on our broadcast.
We'll let Alex have some fun behind the scenes and throw some more stuff on there. I don't know. A
Christmas edition of the Sherwood Ford Giant pregame show tomorrow on Oilers Nation every day. That is coming your way. A lot of ideas. Every ounce of beer drank, $5 donated. We're not doing that. I don't trust myself, people. Thanks everyone for watching. Shout out to our friends at the Sports Closet. Again, sportscloset.ca. I'm sure they'll have some great stuff going on Boxing Day as well, so you want to check them out. Also, Soho, we had a great time last night. Thank you very much. Also, Cornerstone Insurance and our friends at Sherwood Ford, their mobile service center is legit. Find out more. There is a link in the description of today's YouTube video. Tomorrow's a Sherwood Ford Giant game day. Tomorrow is our last show before Christmas. And then next week, I should put this out there all to you now, game days only next week. So it'll be a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. We'll be off Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's what's coming next week, but we will talk tomorrow. Happy holidays, everybody. And enjoy your Thursday. We'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye.